Still waiting. All right. Okay. Hi, this is Clever Adventures Podcast, part of the World of Ability Podcast Network. And I am Lori, your host, and I am so excited to have Miss Nanciann here with us today. And we are on our 5th episode. So excited that we have that going on. And so we are excited to continue to grow. Sorry, I'm in a different location. I had a field trip with my oldest son. We went to the science center, and so I am pinch hitting this and so we're working a little remotely, but I'm so excited to have Nanciann here, and it has been such a wonderful joy to get to know her, and I am so excited to introduce. Oh. So this is Miss Nanciann. And Miss Nanciann, please tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit of your story. I'd love to hear this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me, Lori. I love meeting you with our CBP group. And I grew up on the East Coast, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and now I live in Southern Orange County. And my story is I've always done nursing and acting. So I grew up, I was a nurse, like right away. I just said, oh, there's a hospital, there's a nurse. But then I always did local theater. And then when I moved to New Jersey, I got involved in theater, Morristown, New Jersey. In Manhattan, I did off Broadway while I worked for an oncologist. So I was able, which I didn't realize it was such a cool thing, I was able to afford my own apartment on the Upper West Side, 71st and Central Park West, because he would only need me in the morning hours. And then in the afternoon, I did auditions and, all that crazy stuff that actors do, and off Broadway. And I loved living there, but every day in New York, as some of you may know, is like this. And then when my boyfriend, who's now my husband, moved to LA, he wanted me to move there. And I said, well, let me think about it. It's not like he's asking me to move to Oklahoma. No offense, Oklahoma. But I was like, I could still do nursing and acting there. So I moved, and I started working right away as a nurse and an actor. And I was on Days of Our Lives. It's a soap opera. And they wanted me to play a nurse. Oh, boy. So that's how I got my Screen Actors Guild card, because I could walk and talk and say epinephrine. And so I've always done nursing and acting. And in acting, you do improvisation. And improvisation is different from comedy. Comedy is passive. You sit, you listen, you laugh. Improv is interactive. And I did a lot of research on the brain. And when I was a float nurse. So that means I would go anywhere. And that was better for my schedule. So when they would say, we need you on this floor or that floor, I said, fine, I can't work Thursday, but this week I can work Friday. So they always found a place for me. And when I was on the cardiac floor, Lori, I got to tell you, I saw younger and younger people having heart attacks. And I did a lot of research, and I found out that what we hold in our brain affects your heart, your liver, your gut, all the way down. I'm going to throw this in. Did you know anger weakens your liver? Grief weakens your lungs. Worry weakens your stomach. How many people do we know with stomach issues?
Oh, I believe it.
Oh, I believe it. Stress weakens your heart and your brain, and fear weakens your kidneys. So I did research and read a lot of books, and I realized, let's stop holding this crap in. And then since COVID came and people are into their phones, so people started hiring me to talk, and my business is Improv for Health. And my saying is, enjoy your moments, because really that's all we have, folks. I mean, I'm having this beautiful moment with Lori, and hopefully, it'll go on, but I don't know. I hope I don't get run over by a car tomorrow. I do know 3 people that got hit by cars and killed, all different areas, all different ages. So now I teach people to cross the street like this if you want to do that. People think I'm nuts, but so far, knock on wood, it's worked. So yes, I have done stand-up, and the improv business is taking off. I start my improv and my comedy sessions. They're all interactive. And I'll give you a quick, I put these gloves on I know people don't wear gloves anymore during COVID, they're wearing it. And then I say to my audience, this is how you're going to get your first free physical. Don't worry, you won't have to pay me. You have to listen. When I say 3, we're all going to clap 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then I take the gloves off and I throw them in the audience. I say, I deem you healthy, because your health starts here, goes through all your organs down to your baby toe. So see, folks, you just got your first free physical online. There you go. You got to listen. You got to pay attention. Anyway, I'll shut up. Lori, ask me some more questions, because I could just go on and on and on. I
just love hearing you talk. You have such enthusiasm, which is great, because then it's almost like you never work a day in your life, right?
That is so true. That is
and
so
true. Just absolutely, just absolutely love that. So with getting, like, I guess with all of that research, have you, like, how has that research changed how you live your life every day? How has that changed your friends' lives, or even your husband? How is
Thank
that?
you. I try and take it out into the world. So I'm in a couple different groups. We met through CBP. I'm in AATH. It stands for Association for Applied Therapeutic Humor. And it's people who are doctors, nurses, psychologists, some regular people. We go out into the world to bring humor, because, whether you're at an airport and you're stressed. So one of my sayings is use yes and every day. Now I'm going to tell you, yes and is a muscle. And the more you use it, you get used to it. And it works for business people. It works for kids. Yes, and little Joey, I heard you want dessert. After you eat your healthy food, you could have dessert. Yes, and we'll go to the park after you do your homework. So maybe that's why this crazy mom got the 2 good kids, because I'd say, yes, and we could do that after we do this. And the more you do it, you could do it in the supermarket. It really works. So I've done a lot of research on the brain, and I try and live by that. I know we all don't. If you're in a supermarket and people are yelling, I've already interrupted and go, yes, Ann, I hear this guy's having a hard time. Can you explain it to him in just 1 sentence? And the cashier looked at me and goes, yeah, I could do that. So less is more. Sometimes what we want out of people, rather than go blah, 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 you just go. And I remember that situation. She said, I just want to know why he's buying this instead of that, because that's on sale. And he just said, oh, I like this. I don't mind paying more. Again, I live in Orange County, so people don't mind paying more. And so, yes, and it really works. It works for women too. Like Lori, as women, we're asked to be on this committee and that committee. And you go, yes, Ann, thanks for asking me to be on your committee. However, right now my schedule's a little full. I'll get back to you. You're not saying no, you're saying maybe, and maybe you'll do that committee, maybe you won't. But rather than saying no, so I say yes, and will magically open doors, and no but shuts the door. I'm not going to show you my butt on camera, but that's what I do on stage. I hit my butt and I say no but shuts the doors. So even though you want to say no but, you go, yes, and honey, we could do that in 2 hours. And a lot of times business people are interrupted. You're working on a project. Oh, I need you over here. So even if it's your boss, you say, yes, Ann, Bob, I heard you. I probably will get to your project tomorrow. Right now, I can't get to it today. And once he knows that, hopefully he'll back off, because otherwise they don't know. They can't read your brain. So that's one of my sayings. Just tell them what you're feeling. It's true. So it's kind of a lot of common sense. When I started my business, my dad goes, that sounds like common sense. He owned his own hardware store in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So he had a lot of common sense. And that's what I want to teach people, to go back. Say what you mean what you say, and don't give the fluff.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that would probably work so well with my kids. Like, with all of them on the spectrum. I get asked, my oldest, literally, I get asked like 1,000 times in like an hour. Can I play video games? Can I play video games? Can I play video games? And it was just like, we'll see. And it doesn't help that right now he lost them for 2 days. So it's like,
when I see you, I want to give you one of my yes and pins.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely. So, but I feel like that is something like, that's great parenting advice for, that's not why we're here, but I think that is amazing parenting advice, because, as parents, I've gone just in personal, like we've gone and said, I've gone to like professionals and like, how do I help parent my kids? Because I don't know. They don't come with an instruction booklet. And then
No.
add autism on top of that, forget it. Like,
Oh, God
it's
bless
even
you.
harder. But I feel like that is absolutely, absolutely
Thank
critical.
you. And
So,
also, like when my mom was in her last stages, she passed on. I went back to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I remember her saying, "Oh, how many choices do I get to?" My sister would open up her closet, and I would pick out blue, green, or red. She goes, "Is that it?" I go, "Yes. Today you get to pick blue, green, or red." I'm not going to go through all of her clothes. She goes,
mhm.
"Oh, Diane gives me all the closet." I go, "No, you're going to get blue, green, or red," and it
Yeah.
really worked. Don't give too many choices.
Yeah. Well, and it's like decision fatigue. It's like,
That's and then it just right in the circle and you don't need that. So yeah,
yeah.
and I'm also one of those people, like I worked it into my comedy, the progressive insurance commercial where the guy's like interrupting. So I started telling, I still do stand up. I was at the Irvine Improv, and one of my bits is like, yeah, I go to the airport and I say, "Excuse me, ma'am, your shirt's on inside out. Let's step over here and I'll fix it for you. And look at that little boy, his shoelace is open. Here, put your foot up here and I'll tie it for you." Yeah, I interrupt people. But, I'm kind of like that overly friendly person. Actually, in high school, I was called Miss Overly Friendly. Some people didn't mind. My boyfriend didn't like it. But who cares?
But you know what? He wasn't your husband.
No,
So
he was the
that
cookie.
doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right. And that's what
No.
we're there for. Enjoy your moments, every moment, and don't overthink it. So I bring it down to simple terms. Like if I'm talking to a medical, I've done medical seminars and things like that. Then I get a little more complicated and I'll talk about the telomeres in the brain and how as we age, they could fray. So if you exercise, sleep right, eat, don't raise your stress level. You could bring those telomeres back together. So I give little tips like that. All of a sudden, Lori kind of disappeared, but that's okay.
I don't have the best. I'm going off of my hotspot on my phone. So
That's fine.
sometimes it's, oh yeah, you have great signal, and then other times it's like, nope. And I'm
When
like,
she's here, she's there, she's everywhere.
I know. So I just keep going. I promise you, I will pop back.
That's improv. We just make it up as we go along. Yeah. So another practical thing I wanted to say was, you know how somebody steps on your toe and you say, "Ouch," and then it's over. But suppose somebody hurts your feelings and you hold that in and hold that in. So I'm trying to tell people, just like let it go, like the Disney song. Or I say, the good Lord gave us two shoulders. And when I do talk sometime, I have a little slideshow that I show. And one of them is a big windstorm. It says, "Wish," and let it go. So I was telling a friend, she said something bothered her about another girlfriend. And I said, just let it go. And she said to me, "Your wish worked for 3 hours." I go, "What do you mean? It doesn't expire." She said, "Well, I went and I put it back in my brain." Why would people do that? So somebody said something to her. It was gone, but she went and put it back. So then go up to that person and say, "This happened and it's bothering me." However, you should do it closer to the time when it happens, because if she goes 3 months later, that person will say, "What are you talking about?" So I teach people to say, "Ouch." They step on your toe, you say, "Ouch." They say, "Sorry." Now you're friends. So if somebody says something to you that really bothers you, just go, "Ouch." And then they'll go, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I meant it this way." And let them explain. It's an easy thing. Life shouldn't be so complicated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, how could, like little kids, they're like, well, they hurt me. Okay. Did they say sorry? Like, say
Say
sorry
sorry and
and
get over it.
move on, right?
Move
Like,
on.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So with the brain, is there things that you do that like strengthen it, or like, are there ways? Because like my kids have, so I am predisposed to like Alzheimer's, and my father had Parkinson's and all of that stuff. So are there like things that you do to like help strengthen your brain with all of your research? Have you found anything?
There are 7 things that we should all know. Exercise is one, and we have to get it in, even if it's just walking around the block. Sleep at least 6 hours. I know a lot of people don't want to do that, but that's the brain. Get your inflammation down. Brain exercises, whether it's puzzles, whether it's just talking to people, socialization. You could walk with a friend and get 2 things in: nutrition and get your medical conditions under control. If you know you have something happen, and this is a big one, folks, here it comes. Don't multitask. Our brains age when we multitask. Our society wants you to multitask. Oh, do this, do this, do that. So I'm one of those weirdos that I drive to LA, I drive to San Diego, and I don't talk on the phone. And now my friends finally get it. They go, oh, you're driving to LA, I'll call you. I go, no, I will probably get there an hour early because my song is why be late when you could be early? And then I will call you back, because the way people drive all over the world is wackadoodle. You could use that word. I invented it. So I do not multitask. And it's hard because, like I said, you're doing something, somebody wants you to come. So you go, yes, Ann, I heard you. I will be there. But we have to stop multitasking. That ages your brain. And I know people say, oh, it's good to do 100 things at once. Sometimes we have to. I mean, as a nurse, I know I did hospital nursing, and you're called to, assist with this emergency and that. But sometimes you have to. But honestly, please stop, or don't even multitask. I mean, I'm going to say try, because sometimes I know we have to. But I got to say, avoiding multitasking will honestly keep you focused. And the telomeres in your brain, they're equal to the aglets at the end of the shoelaces. And we don't want them to fray. You want them to come back together. I want to live to be 100. So it's hard. I mean, our society wants you to multitask. So it's put your phone down, just when and you probably know that with having special needs kids, you just talk to them one-on-one. So it's hard.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of it's like you're more intentional with your time if you can focus at one thing at a time, right? Like
True.
you're actually less productive if you're trying to multitask. So
Yes.
like that absolutely, I completely agree with that. And then like with my kids, it's like if you look at somebody, right, like we are having a conversation, we're looking at each other, I pop in and out, but I'm still looking at you. Like, that's what it is we look at each other. And so sometimes it's like, look, you got to look at me so I know that I have your attention. And we focus on that. And then the other thing, it's like, if it's like, hey, they're in a classroom environment, my kids just have to move. My kids have to move.
Yeah.
So I have kids that they'll get up and they just pace. And my oldest is great with that because he just paces back and forth, and he knows that he needs to stay in that area. And then if there's times that he has to sit, he sits, and there's times where he gets up and just moves. So, it's finding that balance, but absolutely, I love all of those. Like,
it's finding the balance. You're right. Our oldest was a little hyper like that. At one point, he's ADD, ADHD. He's now a veterinarian in Texas. And he would come home from school, and I would let him play basketball for a while and then set the timer, and then we do homework, and then we take another break and we run around the block, play basketball, and it's actually good to do that. But, try not to multitask. And, when people give kids screens and they're young, it's just, So I'm going to go back to my airport story. So curiosity is generosity, and generosity is curiosity. So when you're curious about somebody and you really want to know what's going on in your life, whether you're at an airport, whether, you're traveling. So I was traveling in an airport during COVID, and remember how people would wear those gaiters, and they weren't going to let this guy on a plane because he had a gaiter on. And he looked at me, he goes, isn't this a mask? I go, well, technically it's not. But she had mask right back there. And she kept saying, sir, you have to go get a mask. And I interrupted and said, ma'am, can't you give him a mask? I see it back there. And she goes, he's supposed to have his own. So I pretended to put my foot up on the counter, which I really couldn't, but I went like that. And I said, I'll just climb over and get him one. And she threw him one. And he puts his big arm around me and goes, thanks, honey. I said, no problem. That's what I'm here for. I mean, let's just go. Because she wanted him to go walk somewhere else. And our plane was going to leave. I said, I see the mask back there. Ay, ay, ay. So that's what I'm here for. That happened at a doctor's office too. I walked up and they said, you need a mask. I plopped myself down in a chair. I said, I'm going to look through my purse. There's probably a dirty one in the bottom. And then she threw one at me. And then this other lady comes up and she goes, go down to the first floor, get a mask. And I looked at her, I go, you didn't want to do your magic for her? She goes, just be quiet and fill out your papers. So, come on. Crazy world we live. You just got to laugh. So yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
I'm that crazy person.
I know.
She got mad at me. You didn't want to do your magic for her. I mean, she made her walk down 3 flights of steps at a doctor's office. Oh, Lord.
Needed her cardio that day.
I
It was
know.
leg day, right? It was leg
Oh,
day.
Lord. That's what I know. So that's what I'm here for, and yeah, so I've been getting speaking gigs, and I got to speak in Alaska. That was so exciting. They flew me there, and I spoke to the PTA. There was a couple hundred people. I expected like thousands. And then somebody pulled me aside and they said, honey, this is Alaska. We have to fly in from Juneau and this and that. And I went, oh, so I mean, Anchorage is a main place. And that's why they had a couple hundred, but I was expecting thousands. But it was fabulous just being there. It was in April and I spoke for the PTA. And so now my husband and I are going to go on a cruise to Alaska in the summer because he was never there. And I was only there for those 4 days when I spoke. So this summer.
Oh, that is awesome.
I
That
can't.
is awesome.
Yeah, so this will be a real vacation. Well, I won't have to work unless I want to speak on the trip. Who knows? So,
hey, it's a tax write-off, right?
I know. So how did you get into your business? I mean, I just think it's so cool what you do.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for 3 years. So a little bit about my story is that so 4 years ago, we lost our third son. And we had gone to California around the San Diego, Carlsbad area. And we had gone, and my kids, my oldest two, loved the water. They were old enough to love the ocean. My third son, he loved the beach. He loved the sand. He wasn't a big fan of the water. And then my youngest was only about 6-ish months at the time. And he did not like anything. He's like, nope, I don't like the sand. I don't like don't even put me in the water. So, so we had lost our son. My husband had suggested project management, and I was looking for a job, and I essentially needed part-time remote work for my kids because being their main provider, I couldn't put the time in to say, hey, I was a 9 to 5. We had moved our kids and was doing all the things for that. So what I ended up finding travel, and I just fell in love with it because essentially it's a project management position, right? It is the opportunity to say, hey, each client is a project, and you've got to figure out how it's going to work. You got to stay in the budget. You got to figure out where they're going to go, how they're going to get everywhere. Is it, or is it, what's the different options? What's the best option? And kind of just going from there. And then how I fell into disability travel was because I was like, I've got to learn these systems, right? Each supplier, each company has a different system. And so I've got to practice and get used to it. And I was like, well, how am I going to travel? How would I travel with my family? How would I go to this place and travel with my family? And so it's like, oh my gosh. And so I kind of just fell into the disability. It's because it's my everyday life, but I'm like, okay, if I'm at home, like, this is what I do. We have food allergies and sensitivities, and like, how would we do that? How would we handle X, Y, and Z? How would we do this? And so then I just started talking to suppliers and to my business development managers, like, how do you handle sensitivity, food allergies? How do you handle sensory issues? And I found resources, and I found all of those things. And then, my father had Parkinson's, like I had said, and caring for him and understanding how he was going, like what he needed if he wanted to travel, and not knowing the resources. I have found more resources as a travel agent than I ever would have known had I just not done this.
You're amazing. And more and more people are traveling with special needs people or older people too. I go on cruises and I see people with those little scooters, and you're amazing. I mean, that is so cool. Yeah.
But there's resources out there, and some of the resources that I have specifically only work with travel agents. So, it's, if you work with a travel agent, yes, you can do it on your own, but why not have somebody that's done the research? And I find out the good and the bad, right? Like, I find out where my client should go and where my client shouldn't go. Like, hey, this isn't going to be a good fit because they say that there's only, the last time I talked to my support, the people for Antigua and Barbuda, right now there's only one place that if you need wheelchair accessible, there's only one hotel on those islands that you can actually go to. And you wouldn't know that just searching that. Because once you leave the US, there is no Americans with Disabilities Act. And so, like, they can make reasonable accommodations, but reasonable accommodations to you might be different for me, might be different for somebody else. You know, you and I can physically move, we can walk, maybe we can't run a mile, but you know, we can do what we need to for our daily lives, right? And so somebody that, hey, they can't, my mom, she can't walk to the end of her driveway.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She has not aged as gracefully as she probably would have liked. But
Yeah.
you know, if she's got to do a lot of walking, she can't do that. And so there's sometimes you can get around in your daily life, but if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling where you're walking or those things, or you got injured and you're like, hey, I am on crutches, I need something, you know.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. It can be a short-term thing, or you're just like, hey, I could probably do it, but you know what? I want the, you know, cruises, they're huge, right? Their cruise ships are huge.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like, if you're like, hey, I'm struggling to walk, like, yeah, I can walk, but I think it might be nice to have a scooter around the ship. Okay.
Yeah, and
So,
what you mentioned about other countries, it's funny because one of the groups I'm in is called GSFE, Global Society for Female Entrepreneurs. It was started by Robbie Matter. She just turned 90 on International Women's Day, March 8th. And she went to Egypt last year. And then we were going to Egypt in November. And she warned me, she said their steps do not have bars. I go, what do you mean? As there's just like a lot of steps. And I'm like, well, how did you do it? I mean, you're 90. And she goes, oh, I didn't wear my heels. I wore flat shoes. And sometimes I could do it. And other times people would support me on each side. So we went to Egypt in November, and there were those steps. I said to my husband, look, Robbie Matter told us about that. And you could go slow, one foot, other foot, or, you know, this is how it is. You know, we don't have railings like you people. Here in America, we make it pretty darn easy most of the time. Yeah. So, I mean, it's true what you said. So you could tell them little things like that. People wouldn't know, you know.
yeah.
If you're going to Egypt, make sure you bring flat shoes and you got to walk. And I mean, who would think that they have all these steps and no railings?
Yeah. And you know, like there's all those little things that it's like, unless you know somebody that's literally been there or has a similar disability or things like that. And so I just wanted to be a resource for people, and however I can be a resource for people, because I just love that. But I know you told me previously, but how many continents have you been to?
We've been to 7 continents. So we've been all of them.
Ah!
Yay. We have a son. I call him my geeky son. He lives in San Jose. He speaks Mandarin. So when he lived in China, we went to visit him and we climbed the wall. And then all of a sudden, my husband got this idea we should go to all the continents. Back in before we had kids, we were living in LA. I was on a game show and I won a trip to Australia, and it stopped in New Zealand. So got that in. That was free. That was good. And then all of a sudden we're like, we need to go to Antarctica. Well, that was a biggie, but we're the type that jumps on other people's trips. So we have friends in Simi Valley up in LA, and they called us and said, hey, you want to go on this trip? We're like, yeah. So we just signed up, and it was actually easier than I thought because it was on Viking, and you go in our winter, which is their summer, and it was January. And we were very, very blessed because the waves can go as high as 10 meters. And we had 1 and 2. I wasted the little patches behind my ear because I really didn't need them. But how did you know? And then we went down. We walked with the penguins. It was easy. I think the coldest it got was 35, which wasn't that bad. And they gave you the clothes to wear and the boots and everything. And then we just did Egypt, Petra, Jordan. So we got Africa in, but that was a hard trip because we're constantly on the go. It was like you check into a hotel and you got to be ready at 4 a.m. the next day. So we have been to all the continents, and now we got to start on the 7 wonders of the world. And, you know, we've seen Petra, and so who knows, but I want to be grandma too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just sort of happens. That's all I can say.
So I guess, yeah, because like I know for my family, like I would love to go to Antarctica, and I know like there's an age limit, right? So for my kids, we're probably gonna have to wait till my youngest, that's gonna be 6 in a week, until he's like probably 18, 20, because just for the maturity level and those things. And so we'll probably have to wait a little bit, but we will probably still get there. It's just going to look a little different than when you went. So
I highly recommend it. It was easier than I expected and a lot better in many ways, and it was amazing. I can't believe we really went
Yeah.
there Sunday. So yes,
Yeah.
we do like traveling, and yeah. So anyway, we have been to all the continents.
Oh my goodness.
I recommend it. I recommend it, Lori. I
When
do.
you told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. The
That was
stories
easy.
that you have. Oh,
Egypt, Jordan, and Petra was a hard trip because it was like a lot of walking, and we took 4 flights internal just to get there, and Aswan Dam, and so it was a lot, but we saw a lot, and I don't like to be gone too long. So I think it was 2.5, 3 weeks. I don't want to do these 3-month things. I'm not into, I have a business to run.
I know, right?
I have people that want me to come and talk. If you want to fly me somewhere, people out there, I'll do that. I'm in good shape.
Yeah.
So I'll jump on a plane. I've spoken on the East Coast, North Carolina, and just fly me there.
Yeah. So where did you go in? Like, I guess when you went to Antarctica, you were in Argentina.
Yeah. First you go to Argentina. We spent the night there. And then the next day we flew to Ushuaia. And then that was a little plane that took us to where we got on the Viking ship.
So have you gone anywhere else in South America or just there?
No, that was probably, a while ago we did the Panama Canal, and then they stopped. They stopped at a lot of places. That sounds terrible, but they did. I can't.
That's a big trip. They usually do make a lot of stops on that trip.
So the Panama Canal was great, and then we got to see the way how the docks go up and down and all.
The locks,
The locks. That's it. That's what we did. We did the Panama Canal. Yeah, and that was a good trip. I should probably do it again to refresh my memory.
Yeah,
we did that with a bunch of friends too. So we just say, "Where are you going next? Where are you going next?"
Yeah, that's awesome, because I know my 10-year-old. He's like, we're learning about this. I want to go. Like, can we do this or can we do that? And so it's just been fun to show him
Costa Rica. Yeah, we went to Costa Rica. Yeah, the Panama Canal is pretty cool, and you can watch really good movies on YouTube and about the locks. So we enjoyed that trip. That was about 10 years ago. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so much fun. So, all right. So I just want to. I think because we're not that we're really getting close on time, but I do want to be respectful of your time and my family. Because I'm pinch hitting today. But do you have any questions for me or anything else that you wanted to ask me before we hop off?
I want to ask you how I bring people to your site, because I do know a lot of people, whether they're traveling with special needs or older relatives, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, husbands. I want to bring them to your site and tell them what you do, because my heart just goes out to what you're doing. Yeah.
So yes, so my website is lcleveradventures.com, and you got to remember the L. And I looked at getting cleveradventures.com, and that is not available. So
but you are L.
Yes, I am Lori in the Clever Adventures. So that's how I kind of differentiate things. And so essentially it's just visit my website. They have my contact information is there. They can put in there's a, information where they can send me like some stuff like that. But I'm on all the socials as well. But yeah, it's essentially I can help anybody with travel, anybody that is looking for that. But I like to make sure that those underserved communities, individuals with disabilities and struggle with traveling and need that extra care and assistance, because, traveling is a little bit difficult or challenging. And so, it's do that. So just go to lcleveradventures.com, and my information's there.
If they have questions, they could call you, talk to you, email.
Email, phone call, things like text message too. Text message, you just gotta tell me who you are, because I'll be like, who the heck is this, or are you spam, or
I'm not answering those people.
And if I don't answer my phone, please leave a voicemail, because I will check it and call you back, because
I totally agree. When people just go, you gotta
or if you go through my phone screen, it's like, is this really the person or whatever? I'm like, yes, it's really me. Just please go through it. It's just my spam filter. And sometimes it's like, oh, yes, I really need that. Like, no, don't filter this one. Please don't filter this one. This one's important. Or I save it in my phone. Like, I just
Good
like,
for
oh,
you.
yep, you're going in there. So, it's, if I'm trying to get a hold of somebody to prove that I'm not a scam, I try and make sure that I leave a voicemail so they know that they need to reach back out to me. But, I am available. And if I can't, obviously, I'm probably in the middle of my kids. But
You
I,
have a lot of research under your belt, I
yeah,
can tell. I'm really impressed
yeah.
with what you do. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I want to give you a clap. I have this clapper thing. So, life should be fun every day.
yes. This has been great. I got a little overstimulated with a bunch of elementary kids. Like, they had to be like second grade or younger,
Yeah, you
and
were
them
on a field trip. Yeah.
screaming on this field
Yeah.
trip. And I'm just like, I am just so done. And so this has just been a very
Oh,
great
thank you.
reprieve from everything.
I have one more tagline. Somebody just told this to me. AI will not teach you spontaneity, but I will. That's what life is all about.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There are so many things. So,
yeah.
well, Nanciann, it has been an absolute pleasure and
Thank
joy
you
to
for
have you
having me.
on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so it's been wonderful. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure that you are following, that you are liking and sharing. And if you go to my website under show, Nanciann has all of her contact information. I do have to I will make sure that all of her links are there as well. And I'll try and put the comment of her information as well. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Nanciann. It's been wonderful. And everybody else, we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Enjoy your moments. That's all you got. Thank you very much.